Good afternoon, all. So, here comes the second editorial analysis where we need to discuss about the most important article, the article which talks about the important topic from your polity, that is federalism. So, here we are going to analyze federalism and emerging challenges. Then, of course, we will discuss about fiscal federalism. Okay. So, first about federalism. Why this thing is coming in newspapers? Because recently several states have complained about the growing crisis of Indian federalism. They are complaining about the ordinances and the bills which were brought by the centre, which encroaches on their area of legislation, which is internally or which is in turn affecting the very federal structure of our constitution. So far, let's discuss what were the federal issues raised by the states. See, the refusal of the central government of its legal commitment to compensate for GST shortfall on account of the lower revenue, that was one of the issue. Then as per the GST Act, states are guaranteed compensation for any revenue shortfall below 14% growth as per the base year 2015-16 for the first 5 years ending 2022. So the centre argued that the lower revenues are the result of an act of God for which it cannot be held responsible. Now we have to see to the areas where centers are transgressing into the powers of the state government. See, you all might be knowing about the recent farm acts. What was its result? It allowed farmers to sell their produce outside the APMC. APMC means Agricultural Produce Market Committee, and it aimed to promote interstate trade. So, in a sense, the acts are encroaching upon the state list. Why? Because the entry 33 of the concurrent list mentions trade and commerce, supply and distribution of domestic and imported products of an industry, raw cotton and jute, etc. But however, if foodstuffs are considered equal with agriculture, then all the powers of states in respect of agriculture should be elaborately listed in the constitution. The parliament cannot legislate a law in respect of agriculture produce and markets under the 7th schedule of the constitution. Why? Because this markets and agriculture come under state subjects. Then the amendment in banking regulations by bringing cooperative banks under the RBI supervision. Cooperative societies actually come under the state list, that is list 2 of the 7th schedule to the Constitution of India. Let's now discuss about the provisions related to federalism. See, based on the way in which governance is organized, nations describe them as federal or unitary. So federalism, what does it mean? It means both the centre and states have the freedom to operate in their concerned spheres of power, which go hand in hand with each other. But in the unitary system, all powers of the government are centralized in one government, that is central government. So this is the difference between unitary and federalism. Hope it's crystal clear to all of you. Now there are certain judgments, like in S.R. Bommai versus Union of India 1994, a 9-judge bench of Supreme Court held federalism as a part of the basic structure of the constitution. It stated neither the legislative entries in 7th schedule nor the fiscal control by the union are decisive to conclude the constitution is unitary. The respective legislative powers of states and centre are traceable to articles 245 to 254. The court has also observed that Indian federation differs from the USA significantly. Like in Indian parliament, the power to admit new states comes under article 2, create new states, alter their boundaries and their names, and unite to divide the states come under article 3. Recently, the Jammu and Kashmir state was converted into two union territories, that is Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. So the concurrence of states is not needed for the formation and unmaking of states and union territories. Further, the court also highlighted the existence of several provisions of the constitution that allow the centre to override the powers of the states. For example, in the case of legislation on a concurrent list. Now, even though we consider states as sovereign in terms of the legislative field, and their executive power coexists with that of the legislative powers, it is clear that the powers of the states are not coordinated with the union. That is why Constitution often describes it as quasi-federal. Okay, that is regarding these particular things. Then in the state of West Bengal versus Union of India, 1962, the Supreme Court held that Indian Constitution is not federal. Next, let's discuss some aspects about 7th schedule of the Constitution. It contains 3 lists that distribute power between the centre and the states as per article 246. Now, originally 97 subjects were there in the union list, but now there are 98 subjects on which parliament can use the power to legislate. The state list has 59 subjects as of now, but originally it had 66, on which states alone can legislate. The concurrent list has 52 subjects as of now, but originally concurrent list had 47 subjects on which both central and states can legislate. But in the case of concurrent list, in case of a conflict, the law made by Parliament prevails, which it is mentioning in the Article 254. Okay. Now, the mechanism to solve dispute. What are the mechanisms to solve such disputes? See, the doctrine of colorable legislation. There is one doctrine known as doctrine of colorable legislation. It tests the competence of the legislature against an enacted law. So, as per this doctrine, it states the fact that what cannot be done directly cannot also be done indirectly. That means this doctrine is showing some restriction regarding the overstretching of the power of legislature in an indirect manner. The next doctrine related to the mechanism to solve disputes is doctrine of pith and substance. P-I-T-H and substance. What it says? It says that constitutionality of legislation is upheld if it is largely covered by one list and touches upon the other list only incidentally. So this doctrine relates to finding out the true nature of a statute. What does the word pith mean? Pith and substance means pith denotes the essence of something or a true nature, whereas substance means the most essential part of something. Then, so these are the two mechanisms used to solve the dispute between central and states over the entry list in 7th schedule as per the Supreme Court. So the two mechanisms were doctrine of colorable legislation and doctrine of pith and substance. So as far as this topic is concerned, what are the way forward? See, to deepen the roots of federalism in India, there should be some reforms at the institutional and political level. Like the fiscal capacity should be slowly widened of the states so that they are legally guaranteed without reducing the centre's share. And then there should be some institutional mechanism which of the interstate council which should be properly utilized, and it should be ensured to develop political betterment between the center and states on certain policy issues. Then the role of the governor in suppressing the states or center's interest needs to be reviewed once again. Then extreme political centralization or decentralization can both lead to the weakening of Indian federalism. So for a country like India where diversity exists, there requires a proper balance between the pillars of federalism, like the autonomy of states, centralization, decentralization, nationalization, regionalization and national integration. Everything is needed. Okay, that is regarding this particular topic. But then we need to discuss about fiscal federalism, because in today's newspaper something related to fiscal federalism is given. What is fiscal federalism? About fiscal federalism we will discuss in detail. So fiscal federalism means it deals with the division of financial powers as well as the functions between multiple levels of the federal government. So it has within its ambit the imposition of taxes as well as the division of different taxes between the center and the constituent units. Okay, that is regarding that fiscal federalism. Adding more, in India, the Finance Commission and Planning Commission promote fiscal federalism. How? By carrying out systemic fiscal transfers in the nature of devolution or conditional ones. But with the replacement of Planning Commission by Niti Aayog, there is a definite need for redefining the fiscal architecture of India. Okay. See, talking about India's fiscal federalism in much more detail, the 14th Finance Commission, which was chaired by Dr. Y.V. Reddy, recommended 42% devolution of revenue to the states. Goods and Service Tax, which was introduced in 2017, for what purpose? To streamline India's indirect tax structure, so that to promote cooperative federalism in India, gave states an enhanced role in formulating and implementing the taxation system. Okay, then the Government of India Act of 1919 and 1935 formalized the tenets of fiscal federalism and revenue sharing between the center and the states. Now, why do you think there is need for redefining India's fiscal federalism? See, there is certainly a need. Why? Because to balance the horizontal imbalances and rising regional inequalities. See, as per the Gadgil-Mukherjee formula, replacing the Planning Commission, which was given the mandate to grants to the states, with Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog means, you might be knowing, the government think tank with no resources to dispense. This has reduced the policy outreach of government by just depending on one single instrument of fiscal federalism, that is Finance Commission. So if this approach is not reviewed in a proper sense, means it can lead to a serious problem of increasing regional and sub-regional inequities. Then what does it mean by horizontal imbalances and vertical imbalance? See, horizontal imbalances means it arises due to differing levels of attainment by the states. The reasons might be due to differential growth rates and the developmental status in terms of state like social or capital infrastructure, etc. Now there are two types of horizontal imbalances. First, type 1 is to do with the adequate provision of basic public goods and services, and type 2 is due to the growth accelerating infrastructure or the transformational capital deficits. Now what is meant by vertical imbalance? Vertical imbalance arises due to the fiscal asymmetry in powers of taxation with different levels of government in relation to their expenditure responsibilities as defined by the constitution. See, in India's fiscal federalism, three levels of governments are there, right? Central government, state government and the elected local bodies. Now, central government has a greater domain of taxation. For example, in the case of income taxes, let it be personal or corporate, then taxing GST, then taxing foreign transactions, etc. So, in a sense, central government collects around 60% of the total taxes, while its expenditure responsibility, like that of for carrying out, as mentioned in constitution, like for defense and all, it is only 40% of the total public expenditure. So such vertical imbalances are even sharper when we analyze the case of third tier, where it comprises of elected local bodies and panchayats. So in a sense, these vertical imbalances can definitely affect India's urbanization, then the quality of local goods. Thus it can elevate the issues like the negative externalities for the case of environment and climate change. So hence there is a need for restructuring the fiscal federalism. Like India's fiscal federalism needs to be restructured around these four pillars like Niti Aayog, GST and decentralization, finance commission, etc. so that this imbalances can be eliminated in the case of vertical as well as horizontal. So Niti Aayog can serve as a second pillar for dealing in the case of infrastructure and capital deficits, as we discussed in the case of type 2. It should be engaged with the allocation of capital in such a way as different than that used by the finance commission with different parameters for allocation. Then finance commission, it must be relieved from this two tasks of dealing with provision of public goods and services and capital deficits. It should be focusing only on removal of basic public goods imbalance as discussed in type 1. Then decentralization can serve as a third pillar of the new fiscal federalism by strengthening local finances and state finance commission, whereby in the case of local public finance, the creation of an urban local body or Panchayati Raj institutions consolidated fund can be maintained. Then in the case of state finance commissions, it should have the same status as like that of the Union Finance Commission, and the funds, functions and functionaries of democratic decentralization should be implemented properly. Then GST, goods and services tax, should be simplified in its structure, and it can definitely serve as fourth pillar of a fiscal federalism, thereby ensuring transparency. That is, the GST council should take some reforms in a transparent manner, like it should have some independent staffs and its own secretariat. Then single rate GST should come, like with suitable surcharges on sin goods. What are sin goods? Sin goods means the goods that are harmful to society and individuals. For example, tobacco, alcohol, drugs, etc. come under the sin goods, SIN. Then for exports, there should be zero ratings, and they should reform the IGST, that is Integrated Goods Services, and the e-way bill. Okay. Along with this, let's discuss GST. GST, most of you might be knowing, GST is a comprehensive multi-stage destination-based tax that is levied on every value addition. So GST counts as the key decision-making body that will take all important decisions regarding GST. Now GST is an indirect tax for the entire country. Okay. Thus, I would like to conclude that creating the new fiscal federal architecture where there is effectiveness in case of decentralization, independent finance commission, effective Niti Aayog and transparent GST regime can strengthen India's unique cooperative federalism. Okay, so that is regarding some of the aspects regarding fiscal federalism, and in federalism detailed I mentioned. About GST also we discussed. So in today's article about the possible impact of centralization of powers were discussed, but what is important was what we discussed in the former areas. Okay. In today's article, the impact of COVID-19 on fiscal federalism and tax collection, about that was mentioned, like enlarging the non-divisible pool of taxes in the form of cess in petrol tax and instituting the agriculture infrastructure and development cess has resulted in a situation where the union has an upper edge when with regards to tax collection when compared to states. They were just comparing about scenario. Like mostly it was like states were not given that much when compared to union. That was the crux of the article. Okay. So from that, these were the particular thing that it is critical that the union establishes a system where citizens and states are treated as partners and not like subjects. That's the conclusion out of it. Then about some schemes and everything were mentioned. Like there were certain policies which initiated by the union government in the recent past which led to weakening of states' autonomy, like the farm laws that we discussed earlier, like the Banking Regulation Amendment Act 2020. Then the Dam Electricity Amendment Bill 2020, Dam Safety Bill 2019, etc. Okay, so all these things were only mentioned. So whichever thing is important for the UPSC aspect we have discussed already regarding this. So these were the crux of this particular topic. So hope you understood the important things regarding federalism in crystal clear manner. So if you like this session, please do like, share, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Thanks for watching my editorial sessions. Take care, stay safe, bye.